Welcome to DMV Spotlight on ESPN 630, the sports capital, where we shine a light on local stories from the District, Maryland, and Virginia to inform, enlighten, and inspire you. I'm Barbara Britt, and my guest this morning is Casey Baines. She's the founder and executive director at Casey Cares Foundation, which offers tangible help to families with critically ill children. I want to thank you so much for joining me today on DMV Spotlight.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Casey, if you're a parent, or even if you're not, there's few things that are more heart-wrenching than having a child with a life-threatening illness. So let's start at the very beginning. What is a critically ill child? Let's make sure we understand what we're talking about here.
That's a really important clarifying question. A child that has a critical illness, in our eyes, is a child that goes and has frequent hospitalizations. And the reason why it's so important to make that differentiation is because healthcare has changed. It's advanced. So we have so many changes. Families are able to get chemo, outpatient. So at Casey Cares, we're there to help all critically ill children, whether they're cancer patients, whether they have a rare blood disorder, perhaps they're having an organ transplant, or even undiagnosed. We're there to help all those critically ill children.
That is amazing. So, and you all have been around now how long?
We started in 2000, so we are embarking on our 20th year.
That is so exciting. Congratulations. And I have to go back. How did this come to be for you? Because it's named Casey Cares. You're Casey Baines. How did this begin?
It's the tangle webs that we weave, and those are very positive webs, of course. But I was running our family trucking and warehousing company that had been in my family for over 150 years. Amazing opportunity at the age of 20 to run an international company. And I was still very involved in the hospital. I grew up in a community in which number one priority was to give back and to really help make the world a better place. So I was volunteering in the hospital, coordinating a wish for a little boy. And at 20 years old, I was told that this boy was too sick and could not be taken to the larger room to have his wish. We had to do it right in the hospital room. No problem. Easy peasy. We can adjust. I pulled the curtain across that divides the two patients in the room, and we were going to have all of the hoopla happen right there. As the media comes in, as the race car driver comes in with the hood of his race car.
Oh my goodness.
In his jumpsuit. And I did not know that race car drivers are built just like horse jockeys.
They're tiny.
They're tiny.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either. And so there's all this hoopla going on. And as the volunteer, your role is to make the magic happen and then back away. As I backed away, I heard a little voice on the other side of the curtain say, "I wish I had cancer. Maybe I would get cool stuff too." And with that,
goodness.
My heart sank.
Oh.
And I had to leave the room and catch a glimpse of who would say such a terrible thing. And I saw a mom hunched over her son as almost to create like a physical barrier between what was going on. And I couldn't get him out of my mind. I still couldn't get his voice out of my mind. And I became obsessed with finding out why somebody would wish to have cancer. But it turns out, after talking to physicians and social workers and parents every time I was in the hospital, he didn't want cancer. He wanted somebody to understand what he was going through. He wanted somebody to celebrate his life and to recognize that his struggles were just as hard as these cancer patients.
And and that's something I think that we can all relate to, because we all want to feel that we are important and that people understand whatever we're going through. But certainly when children are critically ill, and that's why it's so important that you have that understanding for the children, but also for the families. Tell us what it's like on a day-to-day basis for a family who has a critically ill child. I'm not sure, unless you've walked those days, I'm not sure that we understand what that's like.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody understands it, and I think that every family is different. At Casey Cares, like I said, we help all families. So if your child has cystic fibrosis, they cannot be around other patients that have CF. Well, nobody had really considered that before in providing these recreational programs to families. And that's why Casey Cares is so great for all types of critically ill children, because they can be together. So when a family is goes from a regular family, because we're all guilty of this. When our children are born, we automatically fast forward to all these amazing events, right? Our kid's going to be a superstar on the sports field, or what about prom or their wedding, or when they get their driver's license? And all of a sudden, your child is having some aches and pains, and you kind of, write it off. They're tired, they're not sleeping well, whatever. And then it gets to the point where you finally take them to the doctors. And in that moment, your life is forever changed, because you thought they would come home and say it's growing pains, and they have gotten a diagnosis that is going to forever rock your world. And these children go from their sleepovers at friend's house to being in the hospital. They're playing and running on soccer fields are now doing the running up and down a corridor with an IV pole. These families' worlds have been totally rocked. Casey Cares steps in to make sure that they have something to look forward to, those little moments and lasting memories.
And so you all are unique in so many ways, but one of the ways is that Casey Cares, really provides programs throughout the year, a lot. And this is not to disparage any organization that's helping children. That's great. Keep it up. We need as many as possible. But there are larger events and then smaller events. And so tell us about just the idea behind that.
Yes. All right. So get this. So we all know, and we all look forward to these amazing events coming up, right? And it's one thing. But when you have a lot of little things to look forward to, the difference that makes in your wellness, in your outlook, you have something to get excited about. At Casey Cares, we help the family when they're in the hospital with a new pair of pajamas. And that might not sound like a big deal, but when you're stuck in the hospital and you're 8 years old and you're embarrassed because the gown doesn't fully cover your body.
No matter what size you are, it doesn't cover your body.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter how old you are.
No. And so there's nothing more comforting than having a nurse come in and say, hey, we have something special for you. Come to the nurse's station and pick out your very favorite pair of PJs. They select their size, their favorite theme, their favorite sports teams, whatever it is. And if mom or brother or sister is there at the hospital, they get a pair as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because we're about the entire family.
That's amazing.
Because when the child is diagnosed, the ripples of that diagnosis are felt throughout the entire family. Mom, dad, brother, sister. And we see that. We see the other siblings, the Wells siblings, starting to act out because they see mom or dad giving those sick sibling all this attention, even though the attention is holding their hand as they're wheeled off for their spinal tap, or holding them down as they get the 6th attempt for a blood draw. Negative attention, but in a child's eye, it's mom and dad's attention.
That's right. And it just means it's not for them. So you have so many amazing things that you do throughout the year, and I want to highlight them. So start with the family festivities and just the different things that you create for quality time in a family.
Yes. So we have so many programs, and they are developed so that way families can participate in our programs throughout their treatment process. So when they're home and their immune system is depleted, a movie and pizza night is just what the doctor ordered. So mom has that ready to roll. She received that in the mail. She didn't even ask for it. Casey Cares sends it to her. She puts it on her fridge. It's ready to roll when they're ready to use it. And for that moment in time, this family is a normal family. They're enjoying the latest flick and a pizza. And while as simple as it is, it's exactly what that family needs. Of course, we're going to send them to great outings, whether they get to ride the Zamboni at halftime at a Caps game, or maybe they get to go and watch batting practice at a Nats game. We make sure that this family gets whatever they need when they need it. When they're healthy enough to go out, we're going to send them out. Or if Disney on Ice is in town and the critically ill child is in the hospital and isn't able to go, mom and dad will call us and be like, hey, we're sorry, John's in the hospital, so we'll give these tickets to somebody else. We're like, no, you have 2 other kids at home. Take them. Take a neighbor. Take a friend. And they're like, but they're not sick. We're like, but at Casey Cares, it's for the whole family.
That is incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And I also know that you will go to lengths for a child let's say the child is in a wheelchair, just to make the simple outings possible for the family where they're not having to worry about that. So tell us how that works.
Absolutely. So when you're part of Casey Cares, you don't just go to an event, you experience the whole thing. So we're going to provide parking. And if you need handicap accessible parking, we'll provide that, no fees. We're going to provide you the opportunity to have a meal, because a lot of people would love to go to a game, but they can't because of the expense of all the concessions. We make sure that we take care of that for the family.
And who doesn't love a $9 hot dog? I mean, come on. You also do a special recognition for children's birthday. And I loved on your website because it talked about the poignancy of a birthday for critically ill children. I mean, every child loves their birthday. They look forward to it. They plan it. They want the latest whatever. And of course they do. But it's a little bit different for a child who's so ill.
It is so different. I mean, birthdays are always something to celebrate. But at Casey Cares, we started our birthday blast program because a mom had called, and we were coordinating a different event for her and her child. And she was just kind of venting of how upset she was because her daughter was turning 16, and it's not at all what she anticipated. Her daughter's hair was falling out, and it had just recently fallen out at school on her desk, and everybody was making fun of her.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
The mom was venting, and as the mom's telling me these stories, I could just feel my body tightening up with just pure,
Mama bear.
Yes,
Mama bear.
The mama bear in me came out.
Yep.
And I hung up that phone, and one of the volunteers in the office, I was like, listen to this. And so we concocted up the idea of sending this little girl 24 roses to her high school. And we signed it Happy Sweet 16, thinking of you. That was it. We didn't hear back from the mom for a good week. And of course, we started to think maybe we overstepped, maybe something happened. Oh, why did we do this? And the mom finally called one morning. Was it you? Was it you? Which is always a crazy question to answer. And it's like, oh, who's this? And she said she went from everybody making fun of her to the most popular girl in school because she told everybody she met a college guy in clinic.
That's awesome.
And that's how our birthday blast was born, because we want to give every child in our programs that opportunity to feel super special, whether it's a surprise delivery at school or maybe a great balloon bouquet that shows up on their doorstep or in their hospital room. We want that moment of surprise, that moment of, wow, somebody thought of me.
It's so exciting. And especially because these children are fighting so hard for each year. I mean, most children take for granted. Well, they're just excited. They just have the kid excitement, and these kids, it really is a milestone for them to get to another year. So tell us about. I mean, I know myself. If I'm looking forward to a weekend away, that can just keep me going for a long time. But you really do have some exciting places that you help these families get to for just a weekend away.
And these weekends away are so important because we make sure that they're within driving distance. Because if there is a medical crisis, they need to be able to get back to their medical team. So think about this. You have a child, you're looking forward to the summer and time at the beach or time at the pool, and then you get a diagnosis. And that diagnosis requires them to have a port installed to make it easier for them to receive their medical treatment. Well, not only has your whole life just been turned upside down, you don't even have the pool or the beach to retreat to. So in those cases, we make sure that our families, once they're feeling up to it, once they get that port removed, they are still going to have a blast, and we'll send them to an indoor water park where they can have a weekend full of family fun, feel like normal, forget about the needle pricks and the hospital treatments, even if it's for a few short days.
It is awesome. And just from what I was reading again on your website, these are places that every kid wants to go to. Great Wolf Lodge, that's still on the list. Sesame Place, Hershey Park, sightseeing here in D.C., or the aquarium up in Baltimore, the Liberty Bell in Philly. All of those places that you want to take your kids, you want to make memories. So have you developed relationships with these places? How does that work?
Yeah, we have amazing relationships with all kinds of corporations, sports teams, individuals in all of our communities, because we're not just helping families here in the DMV, we're helping all the families in the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio, and Florida. So we really have a huge reach. And it's important for people to know that there's always the option to help and to give back. And I'm a believer in that there's nothing better than helping others. That feeling that you get when you know that you help put a smile on that person's face is, to me, the best gift. And so we have a lot of donors who will donate their air miles to make things like this possible, or their hotel points, or to say, hey, I have a vacation home. We never use it. Can we help? So there's a lot of it coming together from the community, individuals, and of course, corporate sponsors make things like this happen.
That is fantastic. Are there special accommodations that you can make at these places? I mean, just even having gone there, it's kind of wild. Some of these, just because it's full of people and germs, and just trying to get a sick kid or a recovering kid, and then your other kids. How does that work?
Yeah, so there is a lot of attention to detail for all of this, making sure they're on the proper floor. But a lot of times the hotels go above and beyond and spoil them. So they walk into a room totally decked out in balloons and welcome kits to make sure that they feel comfortable. Because we know while we think they're going to be healthy enough to go, they may be a bit tired and not be able to hack it all day at Sesame Place. So they may need to come back. And all of our corporate partners have been very, very accommodating and understand our population, because they just want to feel normal. That's it. That's all our families want, is to feel normal. And so everything we do at Casey Cares is to make them feel special and make them feel normal.
That is awesome. Now, this is the one that I think, I don't want to say that you all are famous for, but this is the one that I have seen the most, where Casey Cares has a gigantic PJ party. And I know we talked a little bit about the PJs and how important they are in the hospital instead of the hospital gown, but this is named Cammie's Jammies. So talk to us about the background of how that came to be and then what it looks like.
So we have the world's largest pajama party every year in April, and it is a really amazing event for everybody. You have people in radio stations that come to work in their PJs that day and post all over social media. In big corporations, everybody's coming in not in their suits but in their PJs. We have schools getting involved, and it's all to honor our program, to making sure our kids feel comfortable, and recognizing that even a gift of a pair of new pajamas is something that is truly appreciated. And it all goes back to a little girl in our programs, Cameron, who lost her battle, but she loved getting a new pair of pajamas in the hospital and getting her makeup done so she would look pretty. And of course, Cameron was beautiful with or without that makeup, but it just shows you that these children are regular kids. They have the same thoughts as a regular, healthy 8-year-old does. And so at Casey Cares, we want to give them their childhood, even though we're aware that we have to cram a lifetime of memories into a few short years. We're going to do everything in our power to do so. And that's where the pajama party comes in, because it really is an awareness campaign. People, when you show up to get your coffee in the morning in your PJs, it's going to spark a conversation. And when you go into a meeting and half the people are in their PJs, you better believe we're going to be talking about Casey Cares and why it's important that we raise this awareness.
And this is a great event for local communities to get involved in: schools, houses of worship, as you mentioned, businesses. So how do they do that? Is there a specific way that they can get that set up?
Yes, just go to CaseyCares.org and reach out. All the information is there, and we can provide you. We have kits so people can start their own PJ drive, and then also do an awareness campaign. So these are really important awareness campaigns because there is no financial requirement to be part of Casey Cares. None. You could be the wealthiest person in the world or somebody without a lot of resources. You are not taking away from one child in order for us to provide programs to your child. You're simply not. That's not how it works at Casey Cares. You do not need to. Your child can make it. Your child will survive. Just because you enroll in Casey Cares does not mean it's a death sentence. So we want everybody to join Casey Cares and know that we're a resource for them. We're like your favorite aunt. You know, when the phone rings and your kids hear that it's their aunt, everybody's squealing. That's what Casey Cares is.
That is amazing. That just reminds me of the story very quickly. I can remember when I was first an aunt years ago, and I had the two dresses. I had the cotton dress you could wear every day, and then I had the party dress. And then there's part of me saying, oh, the cotton dress, it's much more practical. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the aunt. We're doing the party dress. Love it. And I hadn't thought about that aspect, that for a parent to call Casey Cares. Tell us about that emotional time.
So I will share with you. I started Casey Cares 20 years ago. I did not have children then. I wasn't even married at that point. And now my husband and I have been married 20 years, and we have 3 amazing children. Our daughter was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when she was 13. With RA, which I was unaware, I was like, oh, arthritis, we've got this. My grandma has arthritis. It's not the same. It's not your grandma's arthritis. Her treatment process is rigorous. It's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And it's even worse to know that she qualified for our programs at Casey Cares. I mean, how ironic is that? Is that like I devote my life to help these families, and now my oldest is, could be part of our programs. Even though I grew up in this and we created this, it took me a year to tell people that we were battling this and going through treatments, because I wasn't ready to admit to it. I was like, we got this. This is nothing. No big deal. People have it worse. Of course, people have it worse. And I think that's important for our families to know that, yes, people have it worse, and you are not complaining about your circumstances, and you are blessed that you still have your child, even though you're in and out of the hospital and you have treatments. But there are also people who have it better, and we're here at Casey Cares to help you make your struggles a little bit better.
And you raised an interesting point that you don't care about income on either end, because there is also that sense that obviously for people who are struggling, and it is huge, the medical bills are huge, but people who are better off, which we do have in this area, feel like, wow, I don't deserve that, because we do have a healthy income. And even though this is pressing us, we're not destitute, and we don't want to take someone else's spot. There is that sense of responsibility. And what I hear you saying is that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Think about it as something like on Thanksgiving, and you're hosting and you're doing everything and preparing everything, and somebody shows up with a beautiful appetizer. It's that moment of relief of, somebody's got my back. And that's what we are at Casey Cares. We've got your back. So I don't care what your income is. You as a mom, as a family, need the supportive programs of Casey Cares. And we help that family not once in a lifetime or once a year, but continuously throughout their treatment. And a lot of times we know before the family knows that they're going to need that little pick-me-up, that they're going to need that little support, that little phone call that says, hey, I know that you have teenagers. Would you guys like to go meet the Jonas Brothers? And that can change your whole day, your whole outlook.
Because you have something very positive to share. And I know you mentioned just the connections, and that's another program that you offer, Caring Connections, to let these families know they're not alone, because it is very isolating when you're battling that kind of thing and you're in and out of the hospital, and every other mom on the street or dad on the street is doing the normal things. And you're like, yeah, that's not my life right now. So tell us how important that is. And the program is Caring Connections.
Yeah, well, so we have a program where we bring together all kinds of families who are battling all kinds of illnesses, and they come together and they have a party. And that is so important, because their friends used to be their baseball friends or their cheer friends, but their kids aren't participating in cheer anymore. Their kids aren't participating in baseball, or they're not going to school regularly, so they're not going to the various school parties. So they're feeling isolated in a time where they need so much support around them. And their friends are doing their best, but people don't know what to ask. People think, let's not talk about it. But come on, it's a real part of their life. Families want to talk about it. Just because your child is in a wheelchair doesn't mean your child doesn't exist. We still want to talk about our kids and the accomplishments that they have. So these Caring Connection parties bring everybody together. You form new relationships and new friendships and help each other along your journey.
And it sounds like you all do some really fun things. They go to the movies, they do the moon bounce, the perfect time of year for pumpkin farms, going sailing, batting cages. How do you come up with all these fun things? I want to go.
I know. So you think about this, and I'm going to try to make it to make it real, because they are really fun parties. And like, we just had a pirate party in Georgetown, and we had one of our kiddos who's nonverbal, and he was there with his family. He's in a wheelchair. He's nonverbal, so all he can do is move his eyes. He can blink his eyes. And so he had an eye patch because it was a pirate party. And we had the best time. And all we did was I played peekaboo with his eye patch up and down, and you could see the joy and the laughter in this little boy's eyes just from that simple act, just from being in the environment. And then Mom was in tears because she's like, my boy's happy. My boy's a kid.
He's having fun.
And that's what it's about. You know, when we have the opportunity to have kids out to throw out the first pitch at a Nats game, you know, this little boy who has very disfigured and because of his medical complications, and the dad is on the side, you know, by the dugout with me, and he's like, I never thought I'd see my boy play ball, but look at him, he's in the bigs. That's what it's about.
That's such a joy. Such a joy. Now, and I thought we were just going to not cry right now, but we're just going to keep moving. So tell me about Hammy's Heart. There's another story here. These programs go on and on that are offered by Casey Cares. I don't want to run out of time. I'm looking at our time, but tell me about Hammy's Heart.
Hammy was an amazing little man in our programs. He was actually an Under Armour model, a lifetime model. They're great supporters of us and gave this little boy an opportunity that he never thought he could have with his family. Hammy lost his battle, but Hammy, because of the medicine he was on, he would have these crazy cravings. One that I particularly remember is he wanted ribs out of nowhere. Just ribs. We got to go get ribs. So not all of our families can do that. And so through Hammy's Heart, which Gina, Hammy's mom, runs for us, which is amazing, we make sure that our families get to have an amazing meal, something to look forward to, family time. And when those kids have the cravings, we make sure that they're there and they have the resources to be able to satisfy those cravings.
That story is just so amazing on so many levels, because here you've lost your child. I have no words on that one. But that she's choosing to carry on and to make other children's lives better.
Yes.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. And the families we have, and at Casey Cares, we do help families. After they lose a child, we stick with them and bridge that, because they need to celebrate their child that they lost life, and then they need to create new memories. And Casey Cares offers those same programs to that family as they're going through that very difficult time.
And not every child, some children do make it. So we're not talking about every child that calls Casey Cares.
Gosh, no. Children not only make it, we have them back as interns and volunteers at Casey Cares.
So exciting.
Which is so amazing to hear them on the phone with another family.
It's just an amazing touchback. And then very, very quickly, because I know we're running out of time, but you have some really fun fundraisers. Your annual gala is coming up in March. The golf tournament, you have a 5K, you have a rock and roll bash up in Baltimore, fishing tournament, rockfish tournament, and then your big pajama party. And when is that?
The pajama party is coming up in April. So it's not too early to start thinking about it and getting it out to your groups and to let them know that this is a way to get people involved. Whether you want to get together your college friends that you haven't been in touch with and you're looking for something to rally behind, or you're looking to give back during the holiday season, Casey Cares is an excellent way to have a direct impact on the kids in our community.
That is just so fun. And I don't want to finish up before I have mentioned also your resource page. If you're listening today and you're going through this, or maybe someone in your family or in your community, just look on the resource page at caseycares.org. It's an incredible resource of links for support groups, for financial help. I notice even there's a group if the child needs to fly somewhere to get medical treatment, Angel Flight East. Just anything that you could think of. There's links about insurance, just all of the concerns that you would have if your child or someone's child that you love is in need for that. And I just want to thank my guest this morning. I've been speaking with Casey Baines. It's just flown by. She's the founder and executive director at Casey Cares Foundation. And again, if you want more information, if you want to donate, or maybe you want to volunteer or find out about the pajama party or any of the number of events that they do throughout the year and across the DMV, you can look at caseycares.org. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today on DMV Spotlight.
It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today and listening to DMV Spotlight on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Check us out online at ESPN630DC.com. I'm Barbara Britt.